What's up, Taiwan? Good evening. I'm Erika Liu with 10 minutes of news from here in Taiwan and around the world. Taiwanese soldiers have fired warning shots at a Chinese drone that breached the offshore islands of Jinmen, a part of Taiwan's territory. It's the most aggressive response Taiwan has taken since China began sending unmanned aerial vehicles close to the islands in the wake of U.S. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi's visit in early August. Bing Wang reports.
Taiwan's military fired warning shots at a Chinese drone on Tuesday in Jinmen, an island between the two countries under Taiwanese jurisdiction. It's the first time Taiwan has responded this way to a Chinese incursion. The shots came after Taiwan's President Tsai Ing-wen ordered the military to present countermeasures to the recent rise in China's drone flybys around Taiwan. More than 20 Chinese drones have flown near Taiwanese territory since U.S. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi visited Taipei earlier this month. That was seen by Beijing as a provocation against its One China principle. Beijing sees Taiwan as part of its own territory and has not ruled out taking the island by force.
我们不会让对岸有不当的借口来制造冲突。我们不会挑起战端，我们自我克制。但不表示我们不会反制。我已经下令国防部适时采取必要而且强力的反制措施，捍卫国家的领空安全。
The countermeasures include firing of a warning shot, reporting the incursion, expelling the drone, and if all else fails, shooting the unmanned vehicle down. There's a lot of support for the president's orders among Taiwanese officials and military experts.
我绝不允许任何无人机进入到我的军事范围，守土有责，击落无罪。
利用包括就是干扰枪捕捉，或者是说特殊的机具把它撞毁。
Taiwan's Air Force also announced the purchase of 4 unmanned aerial vehicles and other weapons from the U.S. at a total cost of almost $560 million US. All this with the aim to deter further Chinese incursions into Taiwanese territory. Damien Lin and Bing Wang for TaiwanPlus.
Taiwan reported more than 34,000 new cases of COVID-19 on Wednesday, with 21 deaths. Despite the rise in cases, health officials are hoping to raise the cap on people entering the country each week to 60,000, an increase of 10,000. The country has reported more than 5 million COVID cases this year, but only 0.2% of those have been severe infections. Taiwan is also taking precautions against the threat of monkeypox. A first batch of vaccines against the virus is expected to arrive on Friday. The country also received an order of antiviral medication in July to help people at risk of severe infection. Taiwan has reported a handful of imported cases of monkeypox, but no local infections. A man who spent more than 8 years in jail for a murder he didn't commit has had his conviction overturned. Ryan Hill-Kilpatrick reports.
A 15-year-long wait for justice finally comes to an end, as 45-year-old Lin Jingui is acquitted of murder. Lin was convicted of killing a taxi driver in 2007 and sentenced to life in prison by a court in the southern port city of Kaohsiung. He always maintained his innocence, and nearly a decade later, his appeals were finally accepted. Lin was released from prison pending a retrial. Despite being found not guilty the following year, appeals by the prosecution saw the case drag on. But this week, the Supreme Court rejected the latest of those appeals, confirming Lin's acquittal.
不可能找到案发现场监视录影影像的凶手长发披肩的发型，现场的客观事证，如枪弹、毛发以及指纹等等，经过查证及鉴定的结果，都跟被告无关。
Lin's acquittal comes thanks to years of work by pro bono lawyers with the Taiwan Innocence Project, which aims to address the issue of wrongful conviction in Taiwan. They say the weakness of the evidence was just one problem with the case against Lin, who had no connection to the man he was convicted of killing.
我们很希望法院的判决内容可以交代，并不是罪证不足以判决林金贵有罪，而是林金贵并没有涉犯本案。
Lin's case wasn't the only wrongful conviction overturned in Taiwan this week. Chen Ho-sung, a fishing boat captain in the nearby port of Donggang, was acquitted after 8 years, wrongfully imprisoned on drug trafficking charges. A Kaohsiung court found at retrial that there was no evidence connecting Chen to the operation, and the prosecution's appeal was similarly knocked down by the Supreme Court. Ryan Hill-Kilpatrick for TaiwanPlus.
The governor of the U.S. state of Arizona is in Taiwan on a trip aimed at strengthening and expanding trade relations. Doug Ducey is the second U.S. state governor to visit Taiwan this month, following the governor of Indiana. Ducey will meet with President Tsai Ing-wen and leaders of semiconductor companies. Ducey says he's in Taiwan to talk about semiconductors. He'll visit chip-making companies in a bid to expand cooperation between his state and Taiwan. Last year, bilateral trade between Arizona and Taiwan was worth almost $2 billion. Taiwan semiconductor giant TSMC is building a $12 billion plant in Arizona. Taiwan's dominant role in the production of semiconductors helps power the country's economy, but industry leaders say they are facing mounting risks such as rising costs and moves by other countries to develop domestic production supplies. Louise Watt reports.
Taiwan produces more than 90% of the world's most advanced semiconductors, or chips, that end up in smartphones, supercomputers, and even fighter jets. Now the country's top manufacturer, Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company, or TSMC, is racing to develop even more cutting-edge technologies, smaller than the 5-nanometer chips, currently the most advanced on the market.
2奈米我们会在2025年就开始量产 ，density 还是最小的 ，performance 是最好的。
The move comes at a time when governments around the world are looking for ways to reduce their dependence on global supplies in favour of more secure options closer to home. And countries are investing in building up and subsidising their own chip industries, which could make it harder for Taiwan's chip makers to compete.
每一个国家的政府都说，他希望半导体的工厂到他们那个地方去制造 ，including US。including Japan, including EU, including mainland China, not including Taiwan. 就是所有的 cost 会急速的增加，我们只能够继续合作来降低这样子的风险。
Earlier this month, US President Joe Biden signed the CHIPS Act, $50 billion in subsidies to boost domestic production. Analysts say policies like these will have a significant impact on the cost of chips everywhere.
在欧美当地的一个生产比重的提高，而使得全球的一个晶片价格都会面临比较昂贵。那么中长期来说，也有可能会上涨35%到65%。
If costs go up for chip makers, that could be bad news for Taiwan's economy, which is heavily dependent on exports. But despite the uncertain outlook, analysts say TSMC could see a 10% growth in revenues next year because of orders from Apple and demand for TSMC's 3-nanometer technology, which is expected to enter production soon. Klein Wong and Louise Watt for TaiwanPlus.
Taiwan's Queen of Badminton, Dai Ziying, has retaken the top spot in the global rankings for women's singles players. It's her 6th time as the title holder. She returned to first place with a performance at the latest World Championships, which ended on Sunday. Though Dai finished in joint 3rd place, she was able to overtake the top player due to changes to the ranking system brought on by the COVID pandemic. Usually, rankings are based on scores during the previous 52 weeks, but the World Badminton Federation froze rankings after the pandemic began. A transition back to the 52-week system has only just started, and so some scores from as far back as 2019 are still factored in. Thank you for watching What's Up Taiwan. Remember to download the TaiwanPlus app for more stories from Taiwan and around the world. Finally today, we leave you with images of people exploring the grounds of the iconic Rock in Rio Music Festival. The event is set to start in Brazil this weekend and will run into the beginning of September. I'm Erika Liu. Take care and see you next time.